Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading session. Hang on here a second. I'll get you my screen. Okay, what you're looking at here is the NASDAQ. For those of you new in the room this morning, just a real quick overview here in the top left. I have the Hawk Scalper. Top right, Falcon Swing Trader. Bottom left, Eagle Trend Trader. And the bottom right is the Raptor. I'm also watching gold and crude oil this morning, both of which seem to be a little bit quiet right now, but of course I can take a look at any market which is of interest to you. Let's take a look at what's been going on here in the overnight. And we'll take a look here at the Raptor. You can see that it was a fairly active overnight session. London opened right about here. The market fell off after yesterday's fairly brisk rally. Well, I got to go back a little ways to find the rally. There we go. It was a pretty decent rally going into the closing minutes of the day. And then the market started to tail off. And that's where we find ourselves this morning, with a rather substantial gap above the highs, or this morning's highs, I should say. So at the moment, it looks like the market pretty content to go sideways. I would be keeping an eye on that opening gap, however. Perhaps we're going to see the market trade into there. Let's take a look here at the Hawk, where we're getting a first micro-macro crossover signal. Now remember, you need to take these signals in context also. Even though it's a high probability signal, I might throw a onesie on it. Even though it's a high probability signal, it's still a sideways market, right? And it's still very early. What time is it? Oh, shoot, we're only 2 minutes into the session. I don't need to rush into anything here. So here's a green bar sell. Once again, this is a little bit more probable because it looks like we may be retesting the lows before the market tries to go higher. And I only want a single on this one because it's still very early. Okay, so there's another green bar sell. And what I would be looking for here is simply a retest of these lows. And I'm going to put my stop above the high. There we go. Yeah. So I'm looking for the market to try to retest these lows right here before perhaps reversing and heading higher. And you can see we got a little bit of a bear flag type thing going on. The big question right now is, has this low right here been a retest of this low? Okay, we're heading down. I'm going to take the break even, and there we go. We got our little scalp on that move. So not bad for just a couple minutes into the session. And we got a decent signal there. Now here we come with yet another first micro-macro cross, but do you see how we're starting to make higher swing lows? And thank goodness now we're into yellow bars, so I don't need to worry about taking this first micro-macro cross. The yellow bar voids the signal on the Hawk. But we're coming back with all types of sell signals here. Here on the Eagle also, we're getting a with trend sell signal. Everything is in sync. Now you could choose, I'm looking to enter just below the low of this current bar. You could choose to enter below the low of this bar because obviously that's where the buyers are at. Chances are, however, if I get filled here, I'm going to get filled a couple of ticks lower also. So we'll see whether or not they try to press through that low. And so far they are. Now here's the big test. This second low. We know there's buyers down here. Let's see whether or not the sellers can overwhelm them. Or whether the buyers are going to come back at us. I'm trying to hold my stop back a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of a tug of war here. If we get this bar in our favor, there we go. Now I can start to be a little bit more aggressive with my stops. Perhaps use something like the parabolic strategy. Parabolics are a nice strategy because when the trade first begins, you can see the strategy gives the trade a little bit of room, a little bit of elbow room, and then as the momentum starts to wane, it gets in there really quick to try to minimize your risk exposure. Here we go. Get that break even. I'm going to force the trade to break even. We're only one tick shy of my break even trigger anyhow. Come on. There we go. So we hit the break even target. And let's just inch down a little bit more. Come on, you can do it. There you go. All right. So, not a bad morning so far. Couple very clean signals. Obviously here on the Hawk, we also got our first micro macro cross signal, which had no trouble finding its profit target. If you were watching the Falcon, oh, look at this. We have a trend change / late filter entry signal combo. And that one also very good progression. And we should have something similar here on the Raptor. Yes, we do. We've got the hard edge bounce here into the cloud. You might see this as a cloud crossover also. It's very, very slight. Normally, when I'm looking at a crossover signal, I'm looking for, a more substantial cloud crossing over into another cloud. The idea is that when the market retreats into the cloud, which it usually does when it crosses over like this, we see a little bit of a support coming out of the cloud, and then when we get that signal coming out of the cloud, we can usually anticipate some sort of follow through on that. And then this trade, of course, just exceptional follow through. So crude oil still kind of going sideways, kind of, sorta. Here's crude oil on the Eagle. Well, sideways for this morning session right here. Very, very quiet. You can see the overall trend still down. Who'da thunk that? That we would be looking at $30 oil. Good morning, Jim. Jim providing us with some advanced decline numbers, and given that opening gap, you might suspect that they're a little bit skewed. So we've only got 330 on the buy and 2,400 on the sell. Even though that did have some follow through to it, you need to be cautious if you're following advanced decline figures. Opening gaps will skew the numbers dramatically. Well, Jim says he's also watching the ticks and a lot of negative 1,000 ticks. And what that means is that if you're following ticks and the market starts going to negative 1,000 or positive 1,000, that's kind of the limit. You normally anticipate the market to find some sort of support and start going the other way. But that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. As the trend is definitely down and it's making me wish I had a runner in play. Oh, a nice little 4-arrow consolidation right here as well. My goodness, we're just getting great follow through on our signals. So the 4-arrow consolidation is a signal unique to the hawk. It occurs when the market hits a little bit of a consolidation pattern. Sideways is okay. I prefer to see it, have a little bit of a bear flag type or bull flag type flavor to it. More like this up here. Even though this was not a 4-arrow consolidation. But a sideways pattern is okay. The idea is after the 4th arrow, we anticipate that the market's going to pick up some momentum. And that's precisely what happened right there. All right, so gold trying to turn over. Gold bullish for the most part. You can see we've got a little bit of an uptrend going on here in gold. And yet we're working on a trend change signal. So we just broke the primary resistance, rallied up here to the next resistance line, poked through, and now it starts to reject that. It's still a little early to call this a reversal signal, however, but the trend line has changed color. We've got the down portion, and now here's the up portion. This is the buyers trying to fight the market back, and now we're going to see if the sellers come through and give us that signal. We spoke about this a little bit the other day, how we watch the activity between the buyers and the sellers to try to gauge who is in control of the market. So right now the buyers are in control. They put in a big move, but the sellers put a stop to that at around 11:31. Drove prices down. Buyers start to dig in here around 11:28.5. Put in a little bit of a rally, and then the sellers are starting to knock them down again. Now, this is not a whole lot of activity going on. See, we've got some very strong buying going on here, and yet this is all that the buyers can muster, is a rally like that. I have a feeling somebody's playing possum here. Well, we'll keep an eye on that anyhow. All right, so we're getting some some buying activity coming into the market now, into the NASDAQ. We're getting some support. Let's see, we're getting some yellow bars through here again. Working on a possible trend change signal here on the Falcon, and even a possible soft edge buy here on the Raptor. There's the soft edge buy signal on the Raptor. Now, again, you need to take these things into context. Remember, this is all downtrend here this morning. The market's been paying off to the short side, so I tend to be a little reluctant about taking buy signals. But I'm going to demonstrate the soft edge buy to you here. No, it's not. It's going to fail, so we'll ignore that for the moment. What the soft edge buy is, oops, sorry. Okay, the soft edge buy is a signal that originates on the Raptor in the soft edge of the cloud, namely right here. And what happens is we get this little test of the lows, and then the market seems to reject the lows and we get a buy signal. You need to see this little test of the lows before you get too excited about the possibility of a soft edge buy, because it is a counter trend signal. You don't want to get stupid and start, throwing in counter trend orders all over the place. You're going to regret it. It's better to try to stay with trend, especially if there is something resembling a trend. So what we would anticipate is we would anticipate the market to rally off of that signal and retest the hard edge. Now, right now we're still floundering a little bit. All right, so here comes another soft edge buy signal right here. I'm just demonstrating this to you because this is counter trend. So if you're looking for a signal to follow, this might not be the best one. All right, so we keep rejecting the lows. There we go. Now we produce another soft edge buy. Now we can anticipate that the market's going to try to get to that hard edge. Oh, I guess I better get a stop loss order in play here. Actually, I'd like to put it below this low right here. Because this is the big one, right? This is the one where I know for sure I'm wrong. If the market gets down below here, then I'm definitely wrong about the trade. So this is a good example of how the market gets this tug of war action going on. Notice every time it gets down here or near here, the buyers start to dig in a little bit and they try to push the market up. And then what happens is the market gets up here and the sellers start to knock it down. So are the buyers going to be strong enough to recover the trend? Or are the sellers going to continue with the downtrend? Right now, I'd be in favor of the sellers. When in doubt, go with the trend. Last chance for the buyers. Nope, not enough. So there you see why counter trend trades are so difficult to do. We're getting a lot of activity on these bars now. You can tell by the width of the bars that there's a whole lot of volume going through here. Yeah, we got a real struggle going on now. So the buyer's desperately trying to push the market up. There they go. Now if the sellers come back here with another sell signal, if they knock the buyers down early, that's a pretty good sign that the sellers are going to be in control of the market. All right, so there's the warning dots. And with my handy dandy logic counter, I can tell that the signal is going to print one tick below this bar. Which also happens to be a tick below the current bar. The buyers are really trying hard though. Okay, so here come the buyers. Now we know where the buyers are. The buyers are very serious here around 42.28. Now we got to see if the sellers are serious. Here they come. Here come the sellers. They're pouring it on. Pouring it on. And the buyers are going to hold it. Oh, look at that. Okay, so let's see now whether the sellers can really follow through on this. Because they've got to show their hand here sooner or later. Sooner or later, they got to get serious. All right, so there's another buy signal, which is technically another soft edge buy. I'm not committing to the buyers just yet. I could choose, just to park an order above the high here. But I'm going to let the Raptor give me a signal. So here come the sellers. All right, so there's the sell. There's the sell signal. All right, so we can cancel that, and we can get our stop strategy in play. I'm not going to give them too much room here. If the sellers are serious, they'd better start taking this market down. Otherwise, the buyers are going to run right over them. Which looks like that's what's going to happen. Oh, don't you dare tag me for a tick. Don't even think about it. Don't. I told you not to think about it. All right, well, one or two things are going to happen here. That was not a bad signal, folks. It didn't turn out in our favor, but it wasn't a bad trade, and let me show you again why. So we know there's a real struggle going on here between the buyers and the sellers. It's pretty obvious, right? We're moving sideways. The buyers and sellers are trading punches, and then we get down here, and what happens? Oh, we take out the low. Well, whenever the market takes out lows, we're technically in a downtrend. What do we need to confirm that the market is in a downtrend? Well, we need to see a lower high. That would confirm that the market is in a downtrend, which is what we got. Oops, sorry, I guess I was a little bit too early. We take out the lows, we get a lower high, and then the market comes back with a signal. All right, so we're making lower highs, we're breaching the lows, and then we breached the low here one more time, and then the buyers really dug in and pushed the market back up. So it wasn't a bad attempt. Unfortunately, it did not work out as planned. All right, so now we're trading back. Let's see, where are we on our support and resistance lines? Oh, we got a little bit of room to move here. Working on a possible trend change, challenging the top end now. So we know there's sellers up here. We're going to see the sellers knock the buyers down, and then we'll see whether the buyers can, in fact, continue with the uptrend. Just a little bit of watching and waiting right now. All right, so the sellers pouring it on a little bit and getting a green bar sell. We're currently not in sync with our ATR. There we are. We just flipped it over. This is we're going to be looking for a retest of the lows now. But the market's starting to drift sideways, which is a little bit of a concern. I'm going to just let this one ride until we can see how the market behaves here. It's looking like we have a well-defined range between the highs and the lows. With the buyers and sellers pretty evenly split at the moment, I would say. Okay, we're getting a little bit neutral. Few yellow bars through here, which I suppose is to be expected. Don't quite have the trend change on the Raptor yet. Our clouds are attempting a crossover. We're making higher swing lows and we have breached the height. Traditionally, we can expect two trades or two legs in the direction of the breakout. So this is a little bit more aggressive, but you could be looking to buy this swing higher. All right, so what I mean by that, and let me get a stop order in play here. What I mean by that is whenever you have obvious swing points like this and the market break above here, we're now looking for the retest. We're looking for the retest of this old resistance area. Now, we don't want the market to retest too deeply. It's okay if the market retests into here, if it actually breaches this line, because remember, these lines are not truly here. But I don't want to see it retest way, way, way back here, because that essentially makes the trade very neutral again. But here we have the market retracing. It comes into the hard edge, and now it comes out of here. Now we've broken significant highs. We normally anticipate two moves in the direction of the breakout. So move number one is the breakout. Move number two is the one that we're looking for. So this is the one we're looking to capitalize on. And so far so good. We've got our trade at break even. Let's see what our parabolic's looking like. Yeah, maybe we'll go with parabolics. Once again, if this market starts to get a little bit of traction and perhaps even tries to recover to this morning's highs, we do have a little bit of room here. The market did open up way up there near 42.60, 42.59 to be precise. So once again, the sellers trying to show their hand. Come on, get going, get going. Hopefully they're not going to look too far behind. Well, maybe they are. So the parabolic's coming in here, protecting a little bit of that profit. Now, once again, we're getting one of these areas where the buyers and sellers really need to put up or shut up. We do have the cloud crossover. I'm hoping the market isn't going to retreat too deeply into this cloud. Maybe we'll get some of that cloud support coming in early. Maybe. Here we go. Come on. Jim says the YM on the Raptor has an 84 tick cloud to cloud. That's one thing that I forgot to mention. Jim's been watching this for a while now, and when the cloud gets overextended like this, you know full well the market is oversold. And so we get our little retest of the lows, our soft edge buy, and we would be anticipating a move possibly to the hard edge here, so 161.69, 161.70. We're working this one a little bit, massaging it. Come on. Just taking a look here what the rest of the charts are doing, and it looks like everything is in sync, which is precisely what we would like to see. All right, you see how this bar is starting to get some width to it? That tells me that there was a lot of selling going on here, a lot of activity. It looks like the buyers right now have won that battle, but not by much. Come on, get up there. Don't stop now. Uh, 4240 seems to be a pretty popular number for the NASDAQ this morning. All right, so here comes some of that more active selling. Last chance for the buyers, and you can see where it's occurring, right where this bar got all that width. And some much more aggressive selling. All right. So not a bad trade. Trend-wise, though, it's really a tough call right now because the market has made a good move lower. It's made a decent move higher. Which side is going to come out on top? Hard to say. One thing I do know, though, is if the sellers do not take control of the market again, we will see the buyers rally it. That seems to be pretty obvious. We're into the hard edge here now on the Raptor. The Geiger counter, fairly neutral. We did see some bullishness through here. We're getting a trend change on the Eagle. So once again, if the buyers show up here, then we can anticipate something resembling a rally. Gold here on the Hawk, giving us a first micro macro cross to the downside. I'd probably take it below the low. That would allow me to cover it near the macro line, which would put a little bit less money at risk. We have had a little bit of a test of the extreme right here. And momentum seriously waning in the market right now. As you can see, the seller's trying to test the bottom end. We're getting first micro macro cross signal here on the Hawk, perhaps a trend change signal on the Falcon. I would dearly love to see this Hawk get into yellow bars. All right, so here we go. We're getting trend change signals at first micro macro cross, followed through trend change signal here on the Falcon, which I'm too late for. But the market very transitory right now. I think we could be seeing it roll over and become more bullish. And here they come. The buyers trying to force the sellers. Jim says the YM sitting on trend line support, so we might see some of that support across the indices. Okay, so here comes the eagle. The eagle's actually a little bit early with this red bar buy. And here's the eagle. We're getting our retest of the breakout. We would anticipate a buy signal to come out of this. It's currently against this squiggly red and blue ATR line, which we use as a little bit of an added filter. Maybe getting a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. Now this signal would be a sell signal. The late filter entry signal occurs when the filter goes out of sync and then comes back into sync. As you can see, it's not in sync at the moment. But the very important thing is that the trend line not go out of sync. So you can see our trend line currently still very red. Red warning dots. What we would do is we would wait for this trend line to come into sync, which it should once this bar finishes. So you see now we have our late filter entry signal. Now this tends to be a high probability signal. I'm going to demo it here for you. Let's throw a onesie on there. Here's the problem, that low right there. So you can see we're kind of bouncing off of that low right now. And with a little bit of luck, we'll get through this secondary support line here at 42.33. I should see one more attempt on the part of the sellers to push the market lower, and at that time I'm going to start to get more aggressive with my stop strategy. Oh, Jim says crude oil has just made a higher swing low, so it might be lending a little bit of support to the market. And he says the DAX is also testing the swing low. Crude oil traditionally moves in sync with the stock market, and lately it's actually been a little bit of a leader. All right, so now we've kind of got this full bar, a little bit of a wick on this one. Ideally, I like to see two bars in my favor before I start to roll my stop. Just to show me that there's really an effort on the part of the sellers. Okay, so there's one bar. Let's see if we get bar number two. So there's two bars in my favor. I'm going to enable my stop with my bar high-low strategy. You could use parabolics or something of that nature. What this is now, this is really the last chance for the sellers to recover the market. If they don't recover it at this point, in other words, if the buyers dig in again and push the market higher, it's probably going to continue higher. So I may as well take my lumps and get out. And there you go. So let's see now whether that was too aggressive or whether in fact the market is going to take out these highs and head a little bit higher. Come on, get up there. Technically a trend change signal. Oh no, not quite. This little bit of a red trend line through here spoiled it. Now we're getting, producing some buy signals, but again, in the overall context of things starting to look a little bit sideways here. It is a red bar buy, which does tend to be a higher probability signal. The trend line just changed here, folded over a little bit. That's not enough really to negate any resemblance of an uptrend. Okay, and now we can ignore that signal. A few too many yellow bars in here for my liking. Just shows you a market that's stagnant. And we all know how difficult it is to trade a sideways market. You buy, it goes down. You sell, it goes up. We need to see some momentum come back into the market, of which we have none right now. So we'll just let them play, let them sort themselves out. When they do finally get away from all this sideways trading, and you can see it should be fairly obvious to you right now that this market is very sideways. We should generate a signal if the market is in fact going to make a move higher or lower. Tony says he's going to hire a blind man to trade his account. You just have to recognize when the market is going sideways and just realize there's nothing you can do about it. Yes, there may be a huge explosive move that comes out of all this sideways action, but we don't know that. You can flip a coin or grab the magic 8 ball and find out which way it's going to go. Or you can wait it out. See, once again, they're testing the bottom end of this trading range. Right here. Broke down, but what happens? It snaps right back in there. Now they're going to go test the top end of the trading range. So the buyers are, or at least earlier, they were playing possum. You know how they did down here? They let us sell it on the breakout, and then they took it and just ran it hard to the upside. Almost looks like the same deal here. They let the early traders sell, and now they're running their stops. And let's see now whether there's going to be follow through on the upside or whether the sellers are going to do the same thing to them. These sideways overlapping bars are always dangerous. Because the market's very neutral, right? There's no direction here on the hawk. We're getting all these yellow bars. Look at that, just more or less all on the same latitude. We are getting a first micro macro cross signal here. And I know I always say I take it almost without exception. You can still take it, but I would recommend that you cover the trade fairly deep. And what you could do is, if we engage, you could try to turn it into a runner because there could be a little bit of room here to move. Certainly somewhere into this 42.50 area, maybe. Okay, now we're into yellow bars again. So I'm going to scrub the order. All right, so here we've got a red bar buy on the hawk. And the thing with the red bar buy is we would be looking for the market to recover the lows early. That would show us that the buyers have some control going on here. And at the very least, we should be able to get a scalp out of this trade. But here too, if we engage, I'm going to cancel the order and just see if we can't run it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to cancel my profit target. I'm going to increase my break even just a little bit to where my profit target was. And we'll see here in a moment. Okay, so the trade is now at break even. We're challenging the highs, and we'll see now whether or not the buyers were in fact stronger. Come on, buyers. The best stop is still down here at the lows, by the way, or even this swing low here. We'll see if we just can't. There we go. Come on, get through there. There we go. All right, we're getting a little follow through now. So now we're going to see a retest of this breakout, and hopefully the buyers will once again step in and recover it early. Come on. There you go. All right. Come on. Just keep pushing. If we get a little bit of room here, I can get a little bit more aggressive with my stop. I'm going to try to be a little bit more conservative for the time being. But, you know, don't be silly. $100 and change is sitting there in front of you. That's a fair amount for the hawk scalper. That's a considerable move. But this is the problem when you're trading a onesie. It's, do I take the profit? Do I try to let it ride? What do I do? Ryman says, take the profit like yesterday. Yeah, you know, I've always maintained that you do better going all in, all out on your trades. Just grab the profit when you have it, because the odd time that you do catch a runner, while it's very nice, you tend to give up some profit trying to achieve that. All right, well, there we go. We got tagged on the little bit of a retrace, but a pretty decent little trade anyhow. Here they come again. Wow, just really stuck in a sideways range. The market's too neutral, really, to manage anything more than a scalp. probably running out of time though, because they're keep testing the highs and the lows, just keep bouncing back and forth. Okay, now we're getting everything turning a little bit more bearish. See if they give us a chance to get in here, or if they're just going to be flat out rude. All right, so first micro macro cross on the hawk. I need to cover it, a fair distance away, and there we go. Now we're moving into a macro pullback. And once again, I'm trying to give the trade as much room as I can. So what we're seeing here is now a breakout to the downside and a retest, and I don't want it retesting too deep into this trading range. The deeper it gets into this trading range, the more range bound the market will remain. Yeah, it's a sucker's bet today. See how they're moving back into the range? I'm going to demo it because it's a macro pullback signal, but honestly, I can see this going back into yellow bars, just drifting higher again, and just kind of staying relatively neutral. There we go. Speaking of neutral, there's yellow bars. Now we're into a green bar sell. Now the surprising thing is this green bar sell is probably a pretty decent trade because we haven't seen, kind of another retest of the lows here. And that too is going to run away on us. So we'll put the green bar sell down there, and now that's disappeared. Yep, it's just a sideways day now. Very, very neutral with no follow through. In fact, perhaps the best course of action is just to look at your ranges. Well, here, we'll do it on the Raptor. Say, okay, I'll buy up here. I'll sell down here. There. And just wait for the market to get outside of that range. Which I don't think it's going to do. Good question here from Tony. Tony says, Eric, do you ever just buy the lows and sell the highs on the hawk? So what Tony's saying is, hey, we know the market's moving sideways. Why don't we just identify the range, and when it gets to the top end, we'll sell it, and when it gets to the bottom end, we'll buy it. Now that's It is a very reasonable strategy, Tony. It's not one that I do very often. It does work, as you can see. You know, if your range is pretty much like this, you have to leave yourself ample room for your stops because you're going to be buying on a limit order. Well, here, let's demonstrate it. So we're coming up here now near the highs. I'm going to put in a limit order to sell right there at the high, and I'm going to cover above this high here. So for 50 bucks, I'm going to try to sell the market if it gets back near the top end of this range, anticipating that prices will not breach the overall highs and that they're actually going to end up reversing and heading lower. Some people will even do this with trend lines. You can see we got some trend line selling going on now. The reason I don't do it very often is because it's much more predictive in nature, right? I'm predicting that prices will turn around 42.42. I'm second guessing what the market will do, which in my mind is more difficult than saying, I got to go back here a little ways to get outside the range, to say, okay, we have a first micro macro cross signal, we have some trend, I'll take that signal. Or we have a 4-arrow consolidation with trend, I'll take that signal. To me, that's a little bit easier than trying to second guess what prices will do next. But once you have a well-defined range, you know, it's only 50 bucks plus your commission and fees, of course, but it's not a bad trade. We'll see here in a second. Okay, so we got filled, we sold at the high. Now we're hoping the market does not breach this high, that prices in fact will reverse and head to our profit target, that this trading range will still be intact. The hard part about this too is finding the best place to sell from, right? Because ideally you want to sell as close to the swing high as possible or as close to the swing low as possible. The trade hit our break-even trigger and has just kissed our profit target. Yeah, there we go. We got out at break-even. But it's a good question. But to answer, yeah, I don't do it all that often. Here, we'll try it again. There's not much else going on. So we're going to try to sell near the high. And now this is a nice thing. This is why traders try to do this. Because you see, for 30 bucks, for $30, you can try to short the high, this high right here, cover above this high right here. It's a very low risk trade that way as far as risk exposure goes. But you want to be careful too that you're not just churning your account, right? Not just trading for the sake of trading. Even though it's only $30, it's just a onesie. You don't want to be making your broker rich. So we'll see what happens. Right now, it looks like we're getting some upward momentum. Oh, and the other thing, there are always counter trend trades when you do these types of trades. And if you're stuck in a trade counter trend, it's really, really difficult to take it with trend, obviously. All right, so now we're going to try it here at the bottom end. We're going to place our order to buy there. We're going to cover the trade down here. Oops, I don't need 7 contracts. Let's throw a onesie on that again. So we're going to look for them to recover off of the lows. And you can You can try the intermediate one as well. Surely there'll be a few people in here trying to scalp a few ticks out of this. See, so there's some buying going on. They push a little bit, and now we can try to short the top end again. But you see, while this is going on, we're not necessarily looking at our green bar sell here and a possible move lower. It looks to me like all the momentum hit the market early. Everybody got busy out of the open. Then they let the market reverse about an hour later. Or a half hour later. But this is very, very neutral. And we're just looking at the hawk here, but it will be the same on all your tools. Just look at that sideways congestion. All right, well, we'll cancel that. It's a good question, though, Tony. Well, folks, it looks like we're going to be stuck for a little while. We'll sit it out for a few more minutes, but I don't anticipate much to happen here. Tony asks, are you set up so that when you place the limit order so that your stop is also set? No, I set it manually. So what I do is, I identify the range and then I set my limit order. And let's say I want to buy down here, so I'll set my price to buy here and I'll cover below there. I'm not going to be doing the full 2%, or maybe I want to buy on a break below there and cover a little bit deeper. But normally on your limit orders, you don't. The nice thing about using a limit order like this is that you tend to have very little money at risk. See, here we'll try it on the top end. So here's our trading range on the top end, and I'll look to buy. If they try to break the high, let's get really picky. We'll try to break the high, we'll cover above this high, and there's the trade. And it's totally predictive. You're totally second guessing the market. The upshot is it's $20 plus commission and fees. If it works, you look like a rock star. And if it doesn't, well, I guess you just look like a rock. Jim says crude oil is starting to look a little bit more bullish, so we'll see whether that lends some bullishness to the market. Jim says yesterday all he did was swap spit. Up some, down some, up and down. Finally ended with a positive 63 ticks. So good for you, Jim. That was some hard work. Some tough trading going on yesterday. Thank goodness they finally got into a rally before the end of the day. All right, well, not much going on. We're just really watching paint dry. Until they get outside of this range, there's really not much that we can do with it. Yeah, we're close enough. Top of the hour, going to call it a day, I think. And remember that tomorrow is the public trading room. We're going to meet at the other address. So I'll see you guys then. All right, take it easy. If you're trading this afternoon, I would think a rally would not be out of the question. You know that, but it's not going to happen so long as the market is range bound. There's my guess. All right, guys, see you later. Bye for now.